Hello everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night from wherever you are in the world. Welcome to my daily Instagram TV/Instagram Live. We are studying the book of Proverbs, and we are on day 6, which means we are studying chapter 6 of the book of Proverbs. And today, well, without further ado, let's get started. Today is about multiple things. So, for those of you that already know, these are Solomon's teachings. He's talking to his son and giving him words of wisdom. And Solomon was one of the most wisest kings because he was blessed with his wisdom from God himself. In this chapter, he talks about warnings against folly, which those of you that don't know, folly is foolishness. Warnings about laziness, and warnings about adultery. Now, we spoke about adultery yesterday, so we're not going to touch on that as much today as the folly and the laziness. So let's focus on right now. It talks about, well, first of all, in the first couple verses, so verses 1 through 5, he talks about, "My son, if you have put up security in your neighborhood, if you have shaken hands and pledged for a stranger, you have been trapped by what you have said, ensnared by the words of your mouth. So do this, my son, to free yourself. Since you have fallen into your neighbor's hands, go to the point of exhaustion and give your neighbors no rest. Allow no sleep to your eyes, no slumber to your eyelids. Free yourself like a gazelle from the hands of the hunter, like a bird from the snare of a fowler." Now, the interpretation of that is basically that not just your neighbor, the person that lives next door to you, but if you give up yourself to have debt with somebody, it could be the person that you're working for, your boss, it could be a loan shark, it could be a school, an institution. Regardless, we're all going to at some point fall into debt. So when you do, instead of just laying there and hoping that one day the debt's going to magically go away, not take care of our responsibilities, Solomon, in this sense, Solomon has recommended that we work ourselves to the point of exhaustion, to the point where we are able to free ourselves of this debt. Debt is not something that is recommended by Solomon, this wise king. So as a part of work ethic, he says in verse 6, "Go to the ant, you sluggard. Consider its ways and be wise. It has no commander, no overseer or ruler. However, it stores its provisions in summer and gathers its food at harvest. How long will you lie there, you sluggard?" So the ant is a busy worker, and they prepare for the seasons. So they're very intentional with their work. They don't take as many breaks. And although, God has provised for us to take breaks on the Sabbath, the seventh day of rest, and also, we have the seventh year of harvest. It's interesting that he tells us to take this words of wisdom from the lives of an ant. Even an ant got it figured out. So why can't we? So it says in verse 9, "How long will you lie there, you sluggard?" In other words, how long are you gonna be lazy? When will you get up from your sleep? A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest, and poverty will come on like you come on you like a thief, in scarcity like an armed man, a troublemaker and a villain who goes about with a corrupt mouth, who winks maliciously with his eyes, signals with his feet, and motions with his fingers, who plots evil with deceit in his heart. He always stirs up conflict. Therefore, disaster will overtake him in an instant. He will suddenly be destroyed without remedy. This verse is so important. I think that we underestimate the power of the concept that you are more capable of doing things that you wouldn't intentionally want to do when you're starving or when you're desperate. When we're desperate, we act in ways that are not of our character. And it's because you are vulnerable. You're vulnerable to temptation. So these get-rich-quick schemes start to sound a lot more attractive. When somebody comes to you with a plot of deceitfulness, it sounds attractive because you're in a bind. And at that point, you just want to get yourself out. Your back is against the wall. You're about to lose your house. You're about to, not be able to feed your kids, whatever it is. And you start making terrible decisions. So the point of this chapter is basically, do not wait for it to get that bad. If you fall into debt, work and pay it off as quick as you can. Don't just lie there and wait until scarcity comes upon you like an armed man, and poverty comes like a thief in the night. Make sure that you're in your righteous mind at all times when making decisions. And like I said, don't make decisions when you're hungry. When I used to be a therapist and I was working with people with drug addictions, one of the first things that we said is, when you're having a craving, eat something. It's the most simplest form of advice, and you wouldn't think that somebody that has, to go endure all this schooling would have to tell you that. But the truth is that people that suffer from addictions aren't thinking something as simple as, oh, maybe I should just go eat something. It'll take the edge off. And it really does. It'll hold you over for a little bit until you're able to make a more solid decision. And there is the Bible story of Cain and Abel, the two brothers, in which, the brother was able to convince his other brother that to sell his birthrights for a bowl of soup. Because the other brother was very hungry, so he was like, okay, screw these birthrights, I'm really hungry. So you really don't understand what you're capable of selling yourself short for when you're hungry. You might take a job position that is way below you because you need a job. So don't let it get that bad. There are 6 things, verse 16. There are 6 things the Lord hates, 7 that are detestable to him: haughty eyes, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked schemes, feet that are quick to rush into evil, a false witness who pours out lies, and a person who stirs up conflict in the community. I don't know if any of you have been tuning into the news today, but there was a pretty big trial going on, the trial of Derek Chauvin, the cop that was charged for murdering the life of George Floyd. And he was actually, justice was served in the form of him being charged as guilty for all 3 counts. This is an example of what we just talked about in this verse, the things that are detestable to God. And although sometimes justice isn't served in our lifetime or in our way as we so want it to be served, it's something that the Lord will handle. Justice will be served regardless. And you don't want to be in that position. I mean, imagine what that man is feeling now. Feeling like he thought that he was going to get away with what he was going to do because of the position that he was in, that he's a cop, and cops rarely get disciplined in the United States, especially for what he did. So it's like he took that chance to act upon the impulse of just doing whatever the hell he felt like doing at that moment, and he was punished for it. So the point is to not gamble with your life, regardless of how high your horse is, to the point that you think that you are untouchable. Understand that at any moment God can humble you, and today was his day. And then Proverbs 6 also goes into the adultery, and the one thing that stood out to me is it says Proverbs 6:32. Oh wait, it's Proverbs 6:31. Okay, so yet if he is caught, he must pay sevenfold, though it costs him all the wealth of his house. But a man who commits adultery has no sense. Whoever does so destroys himself. Blows and disgrace are his lot, and his shame will never be wiped away. For jealousy arouses a husband's fury, and he will show no mercy when he takes revenge. He will not accept any compensation. He will refuse a bribe, however great it is. Whatever it is that your punishment is, it's just. And Solomon is, like I said yesterday, Solomon is one that can speak on that personally because of what happened with his father David, King David. If you want to see more about what I have to say about that, you can refer to yesterday's lesson. But other than that, that's it for today. I will be going on live again tomorrow at my new permanent residence time at 7 o'clock. And we will be reading Proverbs 7 and closing out week 1, which is our first accomplishment. Much love, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you tomorrow.